Avantika's great. She's easy to work with. If we were in Bollywood, we'd be opposite each other. They'd age her by 10 years. They'd age me down by 10. So it's nice to play age appropriate and sort of be this dad of a teenager, which was interesting for me. One of the main things being that this is the first Disney film that's centered around an Indian American family.
Definitely Zindagi Na Milegi Dobara is one of my, not even one of like my favorites of his films, but in general, it's one of my favorite films.
Great talent right there, behind and in front of the screen. So it was exciting just to look at it.
Will we see you doing a cameo in that film?
I'm not so big into cameos, and if it's needed, sure. Hi, I'm Abhay Deol.
Hi, I'm Avantika.
And you're watching me
on ETimes.
Hi, this is Amina Sheikh, and with me today I have two great actors who has recently worked in a Disney film called Spin. Welcoming Abhay and Avantika on ETimes.
Hi, Samina. Hi.
So first of all, good morning to both of you. And
well, it's evening when Avantika is at.
Yeah, she's having evening and you're having a good morning, I'm sure.
I'm having
if you're in India. So how is it like, working, starting with you, Abhay, how was it working in a Hollywood project like Spin for you?
Honestly, a film is a film is a film. It doesn't matter if you're doing an English language American film, a British film, or an Indian one. It's the same setup. It's the same protocols. You could say an actor is an actor is an actor. Avantika reminds me so much of my own self when I was her age. So in that sense, it's same. I think what was different was just the fact that we're going through a pandemic, and Avantika will tell you as well how we had these protocols of COVID testing, and it just felt a little, we're in Toronto and everything is shut.
Yeah.
You having a green juice, Avantika, or not?
Nope. I should. I live in LA. Everyone has green juice.
Exactly.
What about you, Avantika, working in South and then also, working in theaters and then of course, like, a project like Spin. How was that for you?
I mean, it's definitely really different, but like Abhay said, a movie is a movie at the end of the day. And it just differs a lot in terms of the set environment and even the acting styles. And the roles I kind of did in the South were mainly childhood characters of main leads. And so it was very different to kind of, have my own arc in this film and to kind of be able to delve into that. So it was really, really interesting. But I feel very blessed. I feel very lucky that I've had such varied experiences, throughout a short span of time.
Well, Avantika, tell them about the difference of having a pumpkin hour and not having a pumpkin hour. That's a big one.
Yes.
What pumpkin hour is?
So in America, if you're a minor and you're on set, you have something called a pumpkin hour, and it's a reference to Cinderella where you turn into a pumpkin at a certain time. And it basically means at this time, an actor, at least a minor actor, has to wrap, and they have to, wrap everything up, and they have to go back home. And so they do this down to the minute. And I think that was good for me in the sense that like there was a solid start time and solid end time, and I could go home and study and do all of these things that I needed to do. But in India, there is no pumpkin hour, regardless of your age. And so it was different there for me to like wake up at 6 a.m., but work until like 3 a.m., into the next day. And it's obviously that's a bit harder, especially since I was like 10 when I was in that. So it's interesting just for me to kind of see also the kind of, regulations that are in place as well between the two industries.
Abhay, do you somewhere envy not having that pumpkin hour in India ever?
I mean, I wish I had a pumpkin hour. I anyways will become a pumpkin even if they don't give me the hour. It doesn't matter if I'm in Bollywood or Hollywood. But to Avantika's point, it's cultural differences that set the experience apart. And so I remember turning to her and I said, "You don't have pumpkin hour in India, did you? On your set?" She's like, "No." So I mean, her experience in that sense is so vast and varied. She'd do the non-pumpkin hour. Okay, fine. This is India. We tend to be casual about such things. Okay, I'm in America now, and I'm entitled to this because I'm a minor. which is something that I think if you don't have an ethnic background, you miss out on to see differences, because she can relate to being Indian by virtue of the fact that she's Indian by blood, but she's very much an American because she's born and raised there. So she gets the best of both worlds, I think. Yeah.
Also, Abhay, do you feel that, that also helped you wrap up your shoot? Because, if she's...
I'd be like, great, we have to wrap because Avantika's going to turn into a pumpkin. So, quickly do it. So yeah, on some levels it was fun because you would be able to finish work faster. Unless on days, I had very few days where I didn't have a scene without her. So those days went longer. Yeah.
Talking about your character, Abhay, first time I guess you're playing the role of a dad. So how was that for you? How different was that for you?
It's the second time I'm playing dad. I played dad first time on my film called Manorama, which was actually my fifth film. You don't realize I played a dad in my fifth movie when I should have just been, as they say, dancing and running around trees. But that had a 5-year-old. I've never played the dad to a teenager. That's the first time. Yeah. How was that? Avantika's great. She's easy to work with. If we were in Bollywood, we'd be opposite each other. They'd age her by 10 years. They'd age me down by 10. So it's nice to play age appropriate and sort of be this dad of a teenager, which was interesting for me. It's like, okay, it was nice to see people say you don't look like a dad of a teenager. I'm like, technically I can be. I could easily be Avantika's dad. And so it was nice to be told you don't look it. And it was nice to be play it then and be accept that, no, actually, you're fine. Especially if I got my white hair.
Yeah. Was that, you kept it for the role or like?
No, not in the film. No, it's not white in the film.
Yeah, because it's not visible over there at all.
No.
So also, Avantika, your character is quite lively. The way you have depicted the role, it's quite like, are you the same person off screen also? That energetic, that vibe? I'm sure Abhay might be having a lot of answers on that.
Sure, I think to an extent, I probably am a little bit similar, but I think maybe in the sense that she's more consistently, lively, and I think she has a generally more positive approach on life, which I think is something I can learn from her. And our humor is very different, but I think in our, general energy, we're very similar.
When it comes to signing roles, you are very selective in terms of projects you sign. Be it Zindagi Na Milegi Dobara, be it Manorama, be it, many projects which you have signed so far. So what excited you for Spin though?
One of the main things being that this is the first Disney film that's centered around an Indian American family. So that in itself is a breakthrough. Disney's never done it. And if Disney's never done it, you can imagine most other studios have not either. So that was one of the main reasons to be at the forefront of change. I've tried to do that in Bollywood with the choices I've made back ever since I started. And so it's nice to be able to do that in Hollywood as well. Start a dialogue. It started there. But I mean, of course, I can tell you I love the script. I was keen to work with Manjari and Zan, my producer, Disney as a studio. So those were all pluses. But I think this one thing really stuck out.
Also, Avantika, when it comes to Bollywood films, which has been your personal favorite, and any of Abhay Deol's work which you have liked?
Yeah.
Definitely Zindagi Na Milegi Dobara is one of not even one of my favorites of his films, but in general, it's one of my favorite films. I remember watching it the week before, we got the call that, oh, he's gonna play Arvind in the movie, and it's so weird to have just watched the movie a week prior, like for the 80th time, and to hear that call. But definitely that movie, and I hate questions like this always just off the top of my head. I can't remember anything, but I loved Razi. I think that's definitely one of my favorite Bollywood movies that I can think of off the top of my head. Aja Nachle, yeah.
You recently said that Hollywood lacks representation since a long time. What do you have to say on that? What do you mean with that?
What I already answered, to say that it was the first time, for example, that Disney got an Indian American family as front and center as the lead. And that should answer your question. That was the first Disney movie to ever focus on Indian American. So that should say a lot to you about underrepresentation. The fact that we're always on the sidelines and not on the forefront. when
Yes, and like as you said, like a lot of roles of Indian actors is more of like playing a nerd or like that. So
well, they're likely to look at Asian women and objectify them, glamorize them, and sort of sexualize them, and they look at the men and they made them into nerds, the intellectual nerds. So when you are an Indian American actor trying to pursue a career in LA, you are aware of these facts that as a man, I'm going to be desexualized, and as a woman, I'm going to be overtly sexualized. So that's something that still needs to change. It'll happen slowly. It'll first be, I suppose, it would start with maybe the glamour part of things and the women, and then slowly it'll work its way towards, okay, the men too being represented in a more dignified manner or realistic manner and less stereotyped.
And when it comes to Bollywood, do you see a change in terms of the way the film, films have been coming out, the kind of projects are coming out, and of course the way the portrayals of women characters are there, or even for male characters for that matter? Do you see that change?
Slowly in Bollywood, it is definitely evolving, and that's because of the OTT platforms who have a digital space that is limitless. They need to fill that space up with all sorts of product. Outside of just the mainstreams. The mainstream will always be there, nothing wrong with that. But for the first time, we'd have an alternative to the mainstream, which is something that was not available to us when it was just, limited number of multiplexes. And now with the pandemic and the cinemas shut down, you're seeing that a lot of the mainstream stuff is not working on the OTT platforms. And so that's forcing a lot of people in power and decision-making power to change or reflect upon how we need to entertain a future audience. The audiences today who've grown up with the internet, who are 20, 21 years old, are not going to idolize stars in the way they did 20 years ago. They're just not. They're going to find new idols, new people to look up to, as it should be.
Do you somewhere feel that has changed already? Like, people don't look up to, the old actors as such, like the new actors, or maybe the more of the content which is there on OTT platforms, where people actually talk about characters which are completely like who don't have such kind of experience of working for so many years, but of course their acting is something which is so inspiring and so good that they're talking about such characters.
Those who've been established for a while and have cemented their stardom are still there, and they will remain there. They kind of made it at a time when all this technology was not available. And so they're already known familiar faces. But to get that level of degree of stardom and success today is much more difficult, because today it's far more democratized. There's far more people with opportunity and technology that's giving them a platform. So, just privilege alone is not going to get you ahead, which is why, for example, Bollywood in particular, as Indians, we tend to be nepotistic, right? We always follow the career of our fathers. Today, that's going to be more difficult because the platform is not available to those outside of the system. And so, yeah, that the age of the superstar is somewhat dying. Not that to say that the superstars already there are not around. They'll still be there.
Yes, but that kind of aura is somewhere like maybe
No, I mean, new ones will come up, but they'll come up in a different environment. It's not like they won't, but they'll be different. Their attitude will be different because the way they've come up is different. And Avantika would probably be best to answer about the new stars, because she's the new generation that did not grow up with what we grew up with.
Avantika, what do you have to say on that?
I definitely think OTT has given, so many opportunities for newer actors, because I think if not for OTT, it would be kind of dominated by older actors that people obviously looked up to, and for very good reason. But I think, it would kind of have become stagnant at a certain point. And so I think OTT has helped so much, just because there's so much content that you just can't possibly fill all the roles with the normal pool of people you would pull from. So I think it's also helped representation a lot, because since it's created accessibility to more roles, I think, communities, especially Asian communities, which usually have tend to be more hesitant towards coming into a field like this, have been more open, because there's so many more roles now to kind of audition for and pick from and choose from. So I think OTT has definitely helped in that process.
I'm glad Avantika picked that last bit. OTT in America especially, has given opportunity to people of color, which Hollywood by itself was not giving. I mean, it was, but it was limited and it was stereotyped. OTT have broken that stereotype. And so in that sense, it's been great in the US, and it's forced filmmakers in Hollywood to look upon people like us a little differently. Yeah.
When it comes to Bollywood, Abhay, do you somewhere feel, you have done so many things, but do you somewhere feel that, your kind of recognition is somewhere like missing, or like, that kind of work which you have done so far, that recognition from people is missing, or from, from the industry, that for that matter?
I mean, people want to interview me. I get interviewed. People recognize me. They tell me they love my work. So I don't feel the lack of recognition at all. If there is any lack of, it's the lack of investing in a PR machinery to keep me in the news all of the time and sort of portray or project the star image, which I was never interested in. So to answer your question, I do lack that star image, which I myself have to feed, because all the stars have a PR machinery behind them that feeds into that narrative. And I don't have that, and that's by choice. But I cannot sit here and say I'm not recognized. For me to say that would be to not see what Avantika said about my movie, to not see how you are asking me the questions, the recognition with which you are coming to me with. I would be disrespecting you if I was to say that, yeah, you're right, Samina, I don't, I've done so much. And no, people love my work. They tell me that all the time. And it's just sad that in India, and particularly in India, where more so than America, where you just have to constantly feed the beast and be in the news, is we've created a system where unless I see you every day or every other day and endorsing 10 brands, you're not recognized. Whatever happened to just the fact that people love you and they say that they do, and journalists want to speak to you, and papers are interested in what you have to say, and forget everything else, forget being recognized from the outside. I get to choose the films I want to do. I get to choose the roles I want to be in. I'm not at that place where I'm looking to do any role to be in the news or to try hard to get work. I'm not there. So if that's not success, I don't know what is.
Also, Abhay, your Instagram is like completely on fire for that matter. Like, you actually keep on sharing a lot of content over there, be it like, quotes and all, which actually inspires a lot of people. I personally follow the pictures and, detailed quotes and all, be it, Marilyn Monroe or something like that, like that, the way your content is already flourishing. So I don't think so you need a PR to be very, you're already doing that job.
Thank you. Yeah, I got a bit more active personally on my Instagram page. I'm not really active on the other platforms, but on Instagram I am. Yes. Yeah.
And does that interest you? Because Instagram is something like, it's really that addictive also somewhere. Are you addicted to it somewhere?
Like it can get that way. Avantika, are you? Do you find yourself sometimes going like, oh my God, I should just stop?
On Instagram?
Yeah.
Maybe, yes, but also like things in America, at least for young actors, casting directors look at social media so often,
right? Yeah,
that it's just like that's their only way, I guess, now, especially since there's no in-person because of the pandemic and everything. It's their kind of way to get an insight into who you are, that even though I want to stop, I'm just like, I can't. My livelihood depends on it now. So, yeah.
Like, of course, social media is something people are addicted to, and people, of course, like to see your work over there. But also on social media, you also get often trolled also. So what are your thoughts on that? Many actors get trolled, many journalists also get trolled and all. What are your thoughts on that, both of you?
I think it's a double-edged sword. I think I would just hope that people are a bit more kinder and a bit more considerate and sensitive of how they talk to people on social media. But at the same time, you put yourself out there, but also you can't, just because you put yourself out there doesn't mean you're entitled to all of this kind of stuff that's hurled at you. But I think social media is definitely a double-edged sword. And I think there's a way to approach balance to it. And, I think people are getting closer to that now, installing screen limits and time limits on their phones and being more conscientious of how much time they're spending and what kind of things they're posting. So I think it's improving, but it's definitely, in my opinion, a double-edged sword.
What about you, Abhay?
I mean, with trolls, I always imagine probably some kid who's bullied and is frustrated and is trying to throw it back at me, or like someone who's much older and is miserable with his or her life. So I just have compassion for trolls, because I realize they're just sad people who are showing bravado behind a screen. The same people would not show the same strength when faced in front of me. I'd like to see that. And I let troll comments remain. I never, unless someone's abusive, I'll delete ones where they're being abusive, because I'm like, okay, you're just being rude. But in terms of judging me, coming for me, passing a comment, yada, 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 or it's their life. It's not mine. And it says more about them than it says about me. So I'll leave it be. They don't affect me. As a man, perhaps I'm more privileged to feel secure, but as a woman, especially as a young person, like Avantika's young, she's only 16. So I can't imagine what that person is going through when they see that. But as an adult, as I'm older, I realized, oh, actually, you poor troll, you probably never had love in your life. Or if you're passing a comment on this aspect of me, you probably have missed that aspect of yourself or denied it, And I hope of someone like Avantika can, and people her age, can see that, because the sooner they see that, the better it is, because troll is a troll. I mean,
that's true. I mean, also Soya Akhtar is coming with her new film, which is Jee Le Zaraa, which somewhere is giving us the vibe of, Zindagi Na Milegi Dobara. Have you seen the poster? And people are like,
Farhan's movie?
It's Farhan and Zoya's both. I
thought Farhan was directing that.
Yeah, he's directing, but a collaboration is with Zoya for the production.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Yeah. So have you seen the posters? And of course,
it looks fun. I mean, great talent right there, behind and in front of the screen. So it was exciting just to look at it. I don't know what the story or script is. It just looks exciting.
Will we see you doing a cameo in that film at all?
I don't think I'm needed.
You have not worked with her since a long time now.
Yeah, but I'm not so big into cameos, and if it's needed, sure, I don't have a problem with them, but I don't think it's needed.
And talking about your upcoming projects, you're also working Apne 2. So tell us something about your role.
Apne 2? No, I'm not.
You're not working in that? There were reports of that, you having a special role in the film.
Do you believe everything that's written in the press?
Of course it's not, but I'm just ready to hear from the horse's mouth,
I haven't even heard about this. I didn't even know it was out there. It's news to me.
Oh, thank you so much, for clarification. So what are your upcoming projects though, Abhay, you're working on?
I have that one film called Vele that is done, shoot with my nephew, Karan. It's in post-production. I am shooting a limited series with Netflix, which should be completed by November. And I have a couple more things in development, which, the producers will announce. But these are the two that are, one's in post-production and one is still in shoot. Because of COVID, we've taken a little while to complete it.
Talking to you, Avantika, what are your upcoming projects, and would you like to work in a Bollywood film, a full-fledged Bollywood film?
I'm currently working on Senior Year. It's a Netflix movie with Rebel Wilson, and that's kind of what's in the pipeline for now. And I'm also I'm getting into production too, and I just recently optioned a New York Times bestseller to make into a movie. So kind of that is also happening, which is very exciting. In terms of a full-fledged Bollywood movie, I would love to, but I think provided the right opportunity and the right environment, because I think everything in Bollywood is so chaotic right now, especially just with everything that's happened. So in the right environment and with the right opportunity, I would definitely love to.
There's no pumpkin hour.
No,
And
there's not. Long hours.
The opposite, a guy who's 30 years older than you.
This is true. Yes, that's why. Right time, right environment, right people, and right opportunity. Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for your time, and it was lovely chatting to both of you. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.